Ladies and gentlemen, the Flex Network is here back in action once again, and we are rolling out something brand new to our viewers, our podcast downloaders. I am Flex Mike at Flex Mike 11 on Twitter, and the man to my side is Ryan, who will be spearheading our new MMA combat sports podcast show. And you can find that Twitter page at MMA Green on Twitter. That'll be the Flex Network MMA content. So, Ryan, just take a quick second, introduce yourself, and kind of tell your background and why people should think that you're qualified to talk about all this.
Oh, no one should definitely think I'm qualified to talk about this. My name is Ryan. I've known Mike for a long time, been into sports a long time. Been following MMA since middle school, like late grade school. When I was really young. So I've been watching, know most of the fighters, most of the styles. Really enjoy it. I try and train myself. It's been a rough year with COVID, but I'm going to get back in there pretty soon.
Right. So what I remember growing up is Ryan used to always, before I was into MMA, he'd be like, "Hey, this cool move that I learned or whatever," and then I'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure," and then I'm like unconscious for some reason. So
It's okay,
I learned
Mike.
I learned a long time ago to stop letting him do that because getting choked out is no fun. But we're here because we are within the next 24 hours ish. We'll be watching UFC 257, and big fights on hand there. You got obviously the main event, which is Conor McGregor fighting Dustin Poirier. And so Conor McGregor and Dana White for, kind of on that note, are talking about how Conor's in the best shape he's been in a very long time.
He looks really good. He looks mentally good, which is weird. He hasn't looked mentally good ever. I mean, he's just seems to be kind of laid back about it. I mean, he was kind of like that with Cerrone last year when he fought, but it's interesting. It'll be an interesting fight. I'm excited for it.
One of the things that I kind of just naturally was thinking about when it came to Conor McGregor is I felt like Conor McGregor was on top of the world pre Floyd Mayweather boxing, and went and boxed Floyd Mayweather. Obviously lost. I mean, he's the greatest boxer that is still currently active, semi-active right now, and he lost. And I mean, I won't say that he really looked all that great against Floyd, but I mean, that's the best that the sport had to offer at the time. And so he took that fight, made a bunch of money, and people say money doesn't change you, but if you're on a private jet with Floyd Mayweather and he said, "Hey, thanks for the fight," and throws you a check for $350 million or whatever Conor made, that's enough money to change anybody.
That's a lot. It's pretty much going to change your whole world. And I think that definitely happened to him. A lot of crap go on.
So you think that Conor maybe fell out of love with the sport of MMA for a little bit, from the boxing, to starting his own whiskey line, and kind of he ran through his little spell of legal troubles and things like that. You think that had something to do with him?
I don't think so. I think he actually really loves it. I think he likes to train. He's just like the money, man. It elevated him so much. I think it just completely messed with his mindset. That's probably what happened to him.
Yeah, because I mean, you go from whatever these top UFC guys are making these days, and then you fight Floyd Mayweather. And with one fight, you're like, I don't have to do anything for the rest of my life if I don't want to, because I literally just made so much money. So
you can pretty much buy anything in the world you want.
Yeah.
Like, you see that watch that he had the other day? Oof.
Yeah, that thing was crazy. But let's go ahead. Let's shift it back a couple of gears before we really start covering UFC 257. Let's go back to the UFC fight night. We had Max Holloway going against Calvin Kattar. Give me your recaps, your thoughts, kind of how you felt about that whole night.
That fight surprised me. I really like Calvin Kattar. He's nasty. He's like real gritty. He's got great boxing, and he got outclassed from start to finish on the feet. Max completely just annihilated him. I've not really ever seen anything like that. He set the new record for most significant strikes landed in a fight, which he already had the record for, so he reset it. But Kattar had heart. He took some shots. I think his nose was broken. His orbital looked broken. His face was pretty much just broken. But Max looked phenomenal.
The thing that impressed me with the whole fight was the fact that, Max Holloway threw so many, but it was the percentage of the shots that he threw that actually made contact with something that was more impressive. Because, I mean, you've seen guys in the past just they're in there and they're just swinging for the fences every time, and they don't always make contact. Obviously,
a lot of glove hits, a lot of misses.
Right. And so that was really interesting to see. And I totally agree with you, man. When he was just like, one thing you could say about Calvin Kattar that whole fight was, man, this guy can take a punishment, because he was getting tagged left and right. I was like, dude, any weaker man would have fell like 3 rounds earlier.
Like they were saying, throw in the towel. And I was like, I don't ever want to see anyone throw in the towel unless it's like real bad. Like he was still in there smiling and loving it.
Yeah, true warrior in that sense. Okay, well, what about the co-main event from that same card? Had Carlos Condit coming in at 32-13, taking on Matt Brown, who's 24-18. And just some guys that have been around for a little while. What do you think about that one?
I think it would have been fantastic like 10 years ago, but it is an all right fight. It was worth watching. I thought it was like more of a split decision. I think it was unanimous for Carlos, and I thought Matt Brown won at least a round in there. But it was kind of just an fight. Both guys are old. I think that might have been Matt Brown's last fight of his contract. So I don't know if he'll retire or maybe go somewhere else.
Yeah, maybe see him end up in Bellator or something like that.
Yeah. The has-beens go there.
Yeah. So we got a comment here coming through on YouTube. Aaron Jackson says, who do you got, Connor or Dustin? We are going to cover that just in a second. But okay, so let's move to the next fight night that we saw just the other day, actually, coming live from Abu Dhabi and Fight Island, and here in Texas where I'm at, it came on. I'm pretty sure it was on at like noon, 12 in the afternoon.
Yeah,
just flipping the TV. Yeah, TV, and I saw I saw that UFC was on. I'm like, what are you talking about? UFC's on. I just assumed it was a replay, and then so I looked on Instagram to look at UFC's Instagram page, and Dana White he was like, hey, just letting you guys know that this, for those of you that don't know, this fight's starting in like 30 minutes. I was like, whoa, okay. So I started watching in the middle of the day. So that one was interesting. Let's start with let's talk about that main event. That main event. Help me say his name, Ryan. It's Michael.
Oh, Gessa.
Gessa. Okay, against
Michael
Neil
Gessa
Magny.
and Neil Magny. Yeah, that was a good matchup. Both of them are like, I think, ranked 8 and 9 or 7 and 8. It was real close in the rankings. Magny's a great vet. Like he's been in a lot of good fights. He's won big fights. He's lost big fights, but he's been around the block. And Maverick just came out and just took him down, controlled the fight, just dominated him the whole time. Like it really surprised me because Magny's usually pretty crafty everywhere, well-rounded guy.
Yeah, from what I saw, they seem to match up pretty well. But like, Magny just seemed a little timid at times in moments where you felt like he should have pushed. It seemed like he was kind of playing that defensive game where he was like
Yeah,
reacting to what the other guy was doing. And so I think ultimately, like you said, he got taken down multiple times. And I think ultimately that's kind of what did him in
that's
there was he.
pretty much all you can do is react at that point when you're down there.
Yeah. 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 There's
It's out
nothing
of
to
your
do at that
control.
point. Yeah, so UFC, coming they have these fight nights. They've been back to back, right? That's back to back cards that were for
Yeah,
free
it was
on
last
TV.
Saturday, and then what was Wednesday was that last card, and then this weekend,
Right.
and then
So one was on ABC and the other one came through on ESPN. And this one coming this weekend obviously is not free.
no,
Dana White knows who the money ticket is there. He's going to collect every dollar he can. And so we're looking ahead to this UFC 257, which will be here not too long. I guess I'll say any fight outside of the main event that really catches your eye that you're looking forward to seeing.
I love the co-main event. Like I'm really excited to see what Chandler does. He's got a pretty good matchup with Hooker. I mean, Dan's a real lengthy guy. He's probably I want to say 4 or 5 inches taller. Like seems like a lot, but like pretty sure something
Yeah,
like that. Chandler's pretty
Michael
short.
Michael Chandler's 5'7" and Dan Hooker standing at 6 foot. So
Okay, yeah. So I mean, it's going to be a lot of reach. And Hooker's got pretty good boxing, so
yeah,
be interesting to see what Chandler does.
looking at the height difference between the two, you would think that the reach would be a little bit off. It's not too far off, actually. Michael Chandler's got a 71.5-inch reach, and Dan Hooker's got 75. So, I mean, it's not crazy, but there
No,
is a little bit of reach there. Um, what do you what if someone came to you right now and said, "Hey, predict this fight. How do you think it's going to go?" What would you say to that?
I think Hooker beats him. I think it's only 3 round fight unless Chandler gets him to the ground and holds him there. I think Hooker is going to tag him up. He's got pretty crisp boxing. When him and Poirier fought, and it was fun back and forth fight. He's in it for a war. So
Yeah. What do you think about the women's flyweight fight? You got Jessica I, who's at 15-8, and she's taking on Joanne Calderwood, and she's 14-5. I saw Jessica I's last fight, and I was pretty impressed by her. What is kind of like
it's
been your thoughts on her?
sometimes she's like there, and you're like, oh, this she like looks really good. And sometimes she's just kind of flat, and it's just kind of what fighter she has. It comes out, but I think it'll probably be a close fight, probably decision. I'm not super excited about it, but let's say Jessica I probably grinds it out.
Right. Okay, let's talk about this main event. Everyone wants to talk about this main event. It's a Connor fight, it's drawing all these numbers, all these people are probably going to buy the pay-per-views, things like that. Dustin Poirier, who's kind of been this guy that's been an underdog for a lot of his fights, he recently, and maybe you can speak to it, he recently just signed a new deal with UFC. Dustin Poirier did. And I'm not sure how many fights are in that deal. But Dustin Poirier, he's 26-6. He's a pretty good striker. He's definitely not anything to sneeze at. He's beaten plenty of people. What are your thoughts on him, just as far as like what you've seen from him in the UFC?
I think Dustin's fantastic. Another guy that's really well rounded. He's been in championship fights. He's been in main event fights. He's pretty much done everything. And I mean, he can hang with anybody in the division. He can beat anybody in the division. I'm not a big fan of him saying he wants to go up to 170. I don't think that really fits him too well. But Dustin's good. Dustin's got heart. He's got good grappling. He's got really nice hands. Like his boxing's really crisp. He pretty much did to Max Holloway what Max Holloway just did to Calvin Kattar.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting.
Yeah. So what is it about going to 170 that you don't like for Dustin Poirier? You think that's just too much weight to put on like his frame, or
I do. I don't think he
okay.
can go up and compete like with the top 5 guys. I don't think the grappling would be good for him. Those guys hit a lot harder. Like Dustin fought at 145. Like it was a rough cut for him, but I think he looks really good at 155, and I think he should stick to 155.
Yeah, so in reality, if he went up to 170, what is he puts on that amount of muscle or weight or whatever? Is that just going to reduce his speed that much where he can't react as fast as he wants to because he's carrying, 15 extra pounds on him, or what's the major issue there?
I mean, I think it's more of like he just doesn't want to cut the weight because he's probably about 175, 180 normal walk around weight and cuts to 155. So he probably put only like 5 pounds of muscle on and then just kind of live normal. That's kind of what Cerrone did. He fought at 170 for a long time, but he said he just wanted to drink beer. So that's why he didn't want to cut to 155 anymore. Typical Cerrone shit.
Yeah, you can't blame the guy there a whole lot. Okay. Well, let's talk about Conor. Conor's the money guy in the UFC. Everyone wants to see Conor McGregor. Conor is as close as any fighter in the UFC gets to a WWE wrestler in his ability to talk and kind of get people out of their element. We've seen plenty of press conferences where Conor McGregor's on the stage, just torching whoever's on the other side of the microphone.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about it earlier. Conor looks like he's in the best shape he's been in a long time. He said it. Dana White has said it, and you said it earlier when we started this. He obviously has that ability to one thing I noticed, because I was actually watching some stuff on him earlier. What he does, because his left hand is so solid, he does that kind of like weird, like it's almost like a hop, step in jab to push you away, and then he comes in with that left, and then that left is just such a killer.
It's quick and it's a sledgehammer.
So, what do you think separates him from a guy like Dustin Poirier, though? Because Dustin's, he's got more fights in the UFC than Conor does, but doesn't have the same type of success, and so. Where do you think this thing goes? Do you think it stays as just a striking matchup, or what?
I think so. I don't think it'll go to the ground unless something drastic happened and someone got dropped really early and not finished. But I mean, Justin gets hit a lot. That's his one flaw.
Yeah,
he's gotten hit in a lot of his fights. He can take good shots, but I mean, Conor slept him once already. It's very well it could happen again.
So Conor has predicted that he beats Dustin Poirier inside of one round. What do you think about that?
I thought he said within 60 seconds.
Oh, he might have said 60 seconds, but maybe my brain just connected
he said 60 seconds. I can see it. Like it. He's done it. He did it to Aldo. Like he's got power. It's definitely there.
Yeah, the Jose Aldo fight was one that was crazy because I had just pulled up to my buddy's house and he's like, "Oh, the main event's about to start," and I went into his refrigerator and grabbed the beer out of his fridge and opened it and set it down on the table, and I looked up and Aldo was asleep on the mat. I'm like, "What? What happened?" So Conor McGregor has this thing that people used to complain about for years, with Mike Tyson, which is, am I going to pay $80, $70, whatever the price is for this pay-per-view, when the guy that's in the main event is just going to sleep him in less than 60 seconds, or yeah. And so Connor's kind of built that reputation a little bit. I know a lot of people were mad this last time around with Donald Cerrone, because I think there's a lot of fight fans that have a lot of respect for Cerrone, but Connor came out, and it was bizarre to me to see him throw those shoulders. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's an underused tool. You don't see a lot of guys use it anymore. John Jones uses it, but not that quick and that fast. But
Right.
I'm a big Cerrone fan. That pissed me off. I'm not going to talk about it anymore.
Well, I'll say that, getting in the clinch there with Cerrone, which is kind of what prompted those shoulders, is probably one of the last places you want to be when you're fighting Cerrone.
He's got nasty knees.
Oh yeah, of course. Okay. Justice Crowder here, your baby brother, is hopping in. He says, "Love Dustin, but I think Connor will overwhelm him early and finish him."
I agree.
Yeah,
First round and a half.
Yeah, that's just that's a reality that we're in right now. So so we talked about Dan Hooker, talked about the main event. So Ryan, I'm gonna give you a couple seconds here, just kind of let everyone know what your plans are. You're not just going to be on here talking UFC. You're going to cover some boxing and stuff like
I'm going to be boxing, kickboxing. You have like ONE FC. They just had their first event of the year today. I think it was just a straight kickboxing. But I mean, they just set up a bunch of fights coming up the next few months. I think Mighty Mouse is going to be fighting again, and Eddie Alvarez is going to be fighting again. I'll cover Bellator when I can. They haven't really, I don't think they've announced any events yet that are upcoming. I think they had a hard end of the year with COVID. Do boxing. You've got big heavyweight fights coming. I can't say I want to cover the Paul brothers too much, but if you guys want it, I can. It's kind of but more mainstream boxing. Gypsy King and Joshua hopefully lined up pretty soon. That's a big heavyweight boxing match everybody wants to see. Right. And pretty much anything else, man. Anything I can get on here, I'll post hockey fights if y'all let me.
Yeah. So Ryan will be rolling out some things. He'll be on, and he'll be talking all the MMA and boxing that your heart can handle. So once again, you can follow Ryan at MMA Evergreen on Twitter, and Ryan will be a frequent contributor now on the Flex Network and with our Facebook page. Just search the Flex Network on Facebook, and you'll find us there. Constantly posting content there. We talk everything there on that page, but at MMA Evergreen on Twitter, strictly UFC, boxing, kickboxing, like he said, MMA, all that good stuff. What about any future Mike Tyson fights? You're gonna talk about any of that? Yeah,
Mike was exciting, at least.
Yeah, yeah, that one was interesting, but yeah. The Paul brothers, I'm down with you there for not covering that, because those guys are just ridiculous. But okay, well, that will do us. This was just a short, quick episode just to introduce Ryan a little bit and talk a little UFC, a little MMA to get you ready for this weekend. Do us a favor, if you're a podcast downloader, you can download the Flex Network on all of your podcast downloading platforms. We're on all of them: Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, all the different places. Find us on YouTube as well. Search the Flex Network. We're all over the place. So we appreciate you guys tuning in, commenting, and I'm Michael, and that's Ryan, and we'll catch you guys later.
Have a good night.